first people here were our indigenous folks, the first people, or our Native Americans. They had a wide-ranging network of trading routes, and there were many different tribes that operated in this area or traded in this area. They included the Cayuse, the Wanapa, the Yakima, the Walla Wallas, the Umptillas, the Nez Perce, the Cowlitz, the Upper Chinook, and the Chickawawas. So there was quite a diverse area before the Europeans even arrived. And they had active trade routes. They lived very well. There was lots of game, lots of food. They cultured the area and maintained a healthy environment. What we're looking at here are the old barracks. Well, not the old barracks, but the barracks that were used by the U.S. Army after World War I. And continuing the narration, the Native Americans, of course, were first here. And the first Europeans to arrive were really the French Canadians, the French trappers. And they lived in harmony for the most part with the Native Americans because they had a lot of the same ideals. And so the next first European groups were the French fur trappers. This is a replica of the fort that was made when the Hudson Company moved in. And it is actually on the spot where the original fort was located. With this situation, only the gentlemen were allowed to live inside the fort, along with their families. And the support personnel, such as the servants and the tradespeople and the trappers and the Native Americans, all had to live in another small community about half a mile away. John McLaughlin ran a very diverse community where there were many different cultures involved. The Hudson Bay Company hired indigenous people from all across the West. Not to mention they also hired Hawaiians to help manufacture and run the business. When they would come to work for the Hudson Bay Company, they would need to sign a 3-year contract. And if they broke that 3-year contract, the individuals were actually hunted down, brought back to the fort, then strapped to one of the cannons and whipped. And everybody would be called out to witness the situation. John McClellan finally had an outs with the Hudson Bay Company, and James Douglas took over in 1946, and he ran the fort until 1966, when it was turned over to the U.S. government. This is a recreation of the types of homes that were in the nearby village where the non-aristocrats would live, the servants, the tradespeople, the support people. They would live in homes like this. And actually it was quite large, where the homes were in neat, orderly rows with wide roads between them. And according to one of the reports from one of the military persons that had visited the town actually had different sections where the Canadians would live, the Americans would live, people from Kansas would live, the Hawaiians lived. And so during that time even, people congregated based on their nationalities and their comfort zone. This is the site of Pearson Field, part of the Vancouver Fort Complex. The Pearson Field has been in operation since the early 1900s. As a matter of fact, the first powered flight over the Columbia happened from this area back in 1905. In this area there was a spruce milling facility. It was a huge facility to make spruce stays to help build the airplanes with during World War I. They started construction on it in 1917. They completed it and started operations in 1918, on February 1918. Then the war ended in October 1918, and so it was no longer needed, so it was abandoned.